Welcome to the Amazon. Close your eyes and let yourself drift into the heart of the greatest rainforest on Earth. Here, in this vast emerald cathedral spanning 5.5 million square kilometers, we find ourselves in the presence of something ancient, something timeless, something alive in ways we're only beginning to understand. The Amazon is not merely a forest, it is a living, breathing entity, a green ocean of life where every tree, every creature, every droplet of water is connected in an intricate dance that has been unfolding for millions of years. Tonight, we will journey together through this magnificent realm. We'll descend from the towering emergent giants that pierce the sky, down through layers of life to the quiet, shadowed forest floor. We'll follow rivers that remember when the world was young and listen to the whispers of trees that manufacture their own rain. So breathe deeply, let your shoulders relax, and allow yourself to be carried away on a journey to the Amazon. To understand the Amazon, we must first travel back in time, back to an Earth that would seem utterly foreign to us today. Imagine, if you will, a time 56 million years ago, during the epoch we call the Eocene. The world was warmer then, much warmer, and tropical forests stretched far beyond the equator, covering lands that are now temperate and cold. It was during this time, as global temperatures gradually cooled, that the first seeds of the Amazon rainforest took root. The climate was perfect, moist, warm, stable, and life began to flourish in ways the planet had never seen before. But the story goes back even further, to a time when the very shape of the land was different, when the great river that defines this forest flowed in the opposite direction. Picture this: 115 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period, South America and Africa were still joined together, part of a massive supercontinent called Gondwana. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, these landmasses began to drift apart, creating the Atlantic Ocean between them. And the Amazon River? It flowed from east to west toward what would become the Pacific Ocean. We know this because of tiny crystals, zircons, found in the sediments at the heart of the continent. These ancient minerals could only have come from the eastern highlands, carried westward by waters that ran opposite to today's mighty flow. For millions upon millions of years, this was the natural order. Water from the eastern highlands drained toward the west, creating vast river systems that fed into the Proto-Pacific. But then, something remarkable happened. 15 million years ago, deep beneath the Earth's surface, tectonic forces began to build. The Nazca Plate, a massive slab of oceanic crust, began sliding beneath the South American plate. And as it did, the land began to rise. Slowly, over millions of years, the Andes Mountains grew. Higher and higher they climbed, creating a formidable barrier along the western edge of the continent. And as they rose, they blocked the path of the westward flowing rivers. The water had nowhere to go. It pooled, spreading across the lowlands of central Amazonia, creating an enormous wetland system known as Pebas. This ancient swamp was 15 times larger than today's Pantanal, a vast, shallow sea dotted with islands and winding channels. For millions of years, sediments eroded from the young Andes, washing down into this great wetland, slowly filling the basins. The water levels rose, searching for a way out, until finally, between 10 and 11 million years ago, the accumulated pressure breached a geological divide called the Purus Arch, and the river reversed. In geological terms, it happened quickly, almost suddenly. The waters that had flowed west for eons now turned east, carving a new path toward the Atlantic Ocean. The Amazon as we know it was born. This reversal was more than just a change in direction. It fundamentally transformed the ecology of the region. The new eastward flow brought different nutrients, different sediments, different patterns of flooding and drought. Species that had adapted to one system now had to adapt to another or perish. And adapt they did. The biodiversity of the Amazon today, its staggering richness of life, is in part a legacy of this ancient transformation. When the river changed direction, it created new habitats, new ecological niches, new opportunities for life to diversify and flourish. Even now, as you breathe slowly and deeply, that ancient history pulses through the Amazon. Every tree, every animal, every microbe carries within it the genetic memory of these transformations. The forest is not static. It is not unchanging. It is a living record of deep time, of tectonic forces and climate shifts, of water finding its way across a restless continent. Let that thought wash over you, like water finding its course, inevitable, patient, timeless. From its source high in the Peruvian Andes, where glacial meltwater trickles from the Apachita Creek, the Amazon River begins its journey. 6,992 kilometers it travels, making it possibly the longest river on Earth, surpassing even the Nile when measured precisely from source to sea. But length alone does not capture the Amazon's grandeur. It is the volume, the sheer, incomprehensible volume of water that truly defines this river. Every single second, between 209,000 and 219,000 cubic meters of water flow from the Amazon into the Atlantic Ocean. Every second. Let that settle in your mind for a moment. This represents roughly 1/5 of all the river water entering the world's oceans. The Amazon discharges more water than the next 7 largest rivers combined. If you could somehow gather all that water flowing in one day, it would fill multiple lakes the size of Lake Superior. But the Amazon is not constant. It breathes, it pulses, it rises and falls with the rhythm of the seasons. During the dry season, the river maintains its course through defined channels. But when the rains come, when the wet season arrives with its daily deluges, the river transforms. The water level rises, 9 meters, 12 meters, sometimes 15 meters above its dry season levels. The river swells, it spreads, it reaches out across the floodplain, creating a band of water that can stretch 40 kilometers from bank to bank. Entire forests become submerged. Trees that spent months with their roots in dry soil now stand in water up to their trunks, creating the Igapo and Varzea forests, the flooded forests that host their own unique ecosystems. This annual flood pulse is not destruction, it is renewal. The rising waters carry nutrients from the Andes, rich sediments that fertilize the forest. Seeds are dispersed, fish swim through the forest canopy, feeding on fruits that drop from trees. It is a time of abundance, of transformation, of life spreading across the landscape. And then, as the wet season wanes, the waters recede. The forest floor emerges once more. The river returns to its channels, leaving behind deposits of rich soil, ready for the next cycle to begin. Near the city of Manaus, one of the Amazon's most spectacular sights unfolds daily, a phenomenon known as the meeting of waters. Here, 2 great rivers converge. The Rio Negro, dark as coffee, stained with tannins from decomposing vegetation, flows from the north. Its waters are warm, acidic, moving slowly and deliberately. The Rio Solimões, sandy and sediment-rich, rushes in from the west. Its waters are cooler, faster, laden with particles eroded from the Andes, giving it a milky, beige appearance. When these rivers meet, they do not immediately mix. Instead, they flow side by side, a clear boundary between black and brown for more than 6 kilometers. The difference in temperature, in speed, in density keeps them separate, two rivers becoming one, yet remaining distinct, a visible reminder of the Amazon's complexity. Eventually, gradually, turbulence overcomes difference, and the waters blend, continuing their journey as one toward the ocean. But the Amazon's interaction with the Atlantic Ocean holds another wonder, a phenomenon both beautiful and terrifying, known as the pororoca. Twice each month, during the spring tides when the moon's pull is strongest, the Atlantic pushes back against the river's flow. The ocean's waters surge upstream, creating a tidal bore, a wall of water that can reach heights of 4 meters. At speeds of 15 to 25 kilometers per hour, this wave advances up the river, creating a thunderous roar that can be heard from miles away. The word pororoca comes from the indigenous Tupi language, meaning great destructive noise. And when you witness it, when you feel the ground shake as billions of liters of ocean water rush inland, you understand why it earned this name. Surfers travel from around the world to ride the pororoca, balancing on waves that can last for several kilometers, a unique meeting point between sport and natural phenomenon. The Amazon River, in all its manifestations, is more than water flowing from mountain to sea. It is a connector, a highway for nutrients, a generator of life, a force that shapes forests and sustains millions of species, including our own. Breathe with the river now. Imagine its flow. Let your breath become the current, steady, powerful, eternal. For centuries, scientists believed they understood the boundary between the Amazon River and the Atlantic Ocean. The river's massive sediment plume, cloudy with particles from the Andes, extended far out to sea, creating a turbid, murky environment that seemed inhospitable to complex life. There could be no reefs here, no coral gardens, no complex marine ecosystems. The water was too cloudy, too fresh, too changeable. This was considered scientific fact until 2016, when everything changed. Oceanographers surveying the seafloor off the coast of northern Brazil and French Guiana discovered something extraordinary. Their instruments revealed massive structures, complex formations, signs of life where none was supposed to exist. They had found a reef, but not just any reef, a system spanning 9,600 square kilometers, possibly extending up to 56,000 square kilometers, hidden beneath the Amazon's sediment plume. They called it the Great Amazon Reef System, GARS for short, and it challenged everything scientists thought they knew about where coral reefs could survive. This reef is unlike any other on Earth. It doesn't rely primarily on sunlight and photosynthesis, although some sections do. Instead, much of it exists in near total darkness for half the year, thriving beneath the shadow of the Amazon's muddy outflow. In the northern sections, where the sediment plume creates permanent twilight, massive sponges dominate. Some of these sponges are enormous, growing to sizes that rival small trees. They filter the nutrient-rich water, extracting particles and organic matter, building their silica skeletons slowly over decades, perhaps centuries. Carnivorous hydroids share this shadowy realm, extending their delicate tentacles to capture drifting prey. This is a community built on filtering and hunting, adapted to perpetual darkness, life finding a way even where light cannot reach. But in the southern sections, where the plume thins for several months each year, sunlight penetrates the water. Here, the reef transforms. Corals appear, staghorn corals branching like underwater trees, black corals growing in ancient, twisted forms. Rhodoliths, free-living nodules of calcareous algae, carpet the seafloor, creating habitats for countless smaller organisms. Scientists exploring this hidden world have cataloged 73 species of fish, 61 species of sponges, and numerous species of coral. But these are just the beginning. Each expedition reveals new species, new relationships, new wonders. The Great Amazon Reef may serve as a crucial stepping stone, a bridge for marine species traveling between the Caribbean and southern Brazil. Larvae released in one region can drift with currents, finding refuge in these reefs before continuing their journey. It is a highway, a rest stop, a crossroads of ocean life. The very existence of this reef reminds us that Earth still holds secrets, that even in the most studied ocean on our planet, vast ecosystems can remain hidden, waiting to be discovered. The Amazon, it seems, creates miracles not just on land, but beneath the sea as well. Let yourself float for a moment in that dark water, surrounded by sponges the size of cars, feeling the gentle current, safe in the knowledge that life finds a way, even in the most unexpected places. The Amazon creates its own weather. Let that remarkable fact settle into your consciousness. We think of forests as passive, as recipients of rain and sun, as landscapes shaped by climate. But the Amazon is different. The Amazon shapes climate. It manufactures rain. It pumps water into the sky and sends it across a continent. This process begins with the trees themselves. Imagine one tree, any tree in the forest. Through its roots, it draws water from the soil. This water travels up the trunk, through the xylem, following capillary action and transpiration pull until it reaches the leaves. There, in the stomata, tiny pores on the leaf surface, the water evaporates into the air. One tree releasing perhaps 200 liters of water per day. Now, multiply that by 390 billion trees. That's right, 390 billion, the estimated number of trees in the Amazon basin. Every single day, the Amazon rainforest pumps approximately 20 billion tons of water into the atmosphere through evapotranspiration. To put that in perspective, that's more water than the Amazon River itself discharges into the Atlantic Ocean in the same time period. This water doesn't just evaporate and disappear. It forms what Brazilian scientists call flying rivers, aerial pathways of moisture that transport water vapor across South America. Here's how it works. Trade winds carry moisture from the Atlantic Ocean westward over the forest. Rain falls. The trees absorb the water, transpire it back into the air, and the winds carry it further west. It rains again. The cycle repeats. By the time this moisture reaches the western Amazon, near the borders with Peru and Bolivia, much of it has cycled through the forest 5 or 6 times. 50 to 75% of all rainfall in the Amazon comes from this recycling, from the forest feeding itself, sustaining its own existence through an elegant feedback loop. But these flying rivers don't stop at the Amazon's border. When they reach the Andes Mountains, the moisture is deflected south and east, carrying rain to the agricultural heartlands of Brazil, to the Cerrado savannas, to regions hundreds or even thousands of kilometers from the rainforest itself. 70% of Brazil's gross national product comes from areas that receive rainfall generated by the Amazon. The crops that feed millions, the hydroelectric power that lights cities, the water that sustains life across the continent, all depend on this green ocean of trees doing what trees do, breathing water into the sky. But this system, as magnificent as it is also fragile. Each tree cut down is one less pump in the system. Each hectare cleared is one less source of moisture. Scientists have calculated that there is a threshold, a tipping point, beyond which the forest can no longer sustain its own rainfall. If too many trees are removed, if too much forest is converted to pasture or soy fields, the moisture recycling breaks down. Less rain falls, the remaining forest begins to dry. More trees die. Less rain falls. A feedback loop, but this time, a destructive one. Some scientists estimate that we are already approaching this threshold, that if deforestation continues at current rates, large portions of the Amazon could transition from rainforest to dry savanna within decades. The consequences would extend far beyond the Amazon itself. The flying rivers would weaken, rainfall patterns across South America would shift, agricultural production would decline, the climate of the entire continent, perhaps the entire planet, would change. But tonight, in this moment, the system still functions. The trees still breathe. The flying rivers still flow. 20 billion tons of water rising invisibly into the sky, held aloft by air currents and temperature gradients, traveling across mountains and savannas, falling as rain to nourish lands far from the forest that created it. Breathe deeply now. Feel the moisture in the air, on your skin. Every breath you take, every drop of water you drink is part of a cycle that connects earth and sky, ocean and forest, life and atmosphere in an ancient dance of renewal. The Amazon rainforest, the wettest place on Earth, owes part of its existence to the driest place on Earth. This connection, spanning 10,000 kilometers across the Atlantic Ocean, is one of the most remarkable examples of Earth's interconnected systems. It begins in the Sahara Desert, in a region of Chad called the Baudelaire Depression. This vast, empty basin, once the bed of an ancient megalake, is now one of the most active dust sources on the planet. During certain times of year, powerful winds sweep across this depression, lifting millions of tons of fine particles into the air. The dust rises higher and higher until it reaches the trade winds that blow from east to west across the Atlantic. And then it travels across ocean, across time zones, across an entire ocean. NASA satellites equipped with LiDAR technology have tracked this journey in detail. Each year, an average of 182 million tons of dust leave the Sahara. Of this vast quantity, approximately 27.7 million tons settle over the Amazon basin. But this is not just any dust. It is rich in phosphorus, a nutrient essential for plant growth, and a nutrient that is chronically scarce in the Amazon's ancient, heavily leached soils. You see, the Amazon soils are paradoxical. Despite supporting the richest forest on Earth, they are actually quite poor in nutrients. Millions of years of intense rainfall have washed away most minerals. What nutrients exist are locked up in the living biomass, in the trees and plants and fungi, cycling rapidly from dead matter back into living tissue. But some nutrients are lost inevitably to erosion, to runoff, to the river carrying them away to the sea. These losses must be replaced or the forest would slowly starve. Enter the Saharan dust. Each year, it delivers approximately 22,000 tons of phosphorus to the Amazon, almost exactly the amount lost through erosion and flooding. It is a perfect balance: desert fertilizing forest, death sustaining life, the barren feeding the lush. This connection has persisted for thousands, perhaps millions of years. The Baudelaire Depression, the trade winds, the Atlantic currents, the Amazon's need for phosphorus, all aligned in a system so elegant it seems almost designed. But it's not design. It's simply the Earth doing what the Earth does, creating connections, building systems, finding balance. Every part of the planet is connected to every other part in ways we're only beginning to understand. A dust particle lifted from an ancient lake bed in Chad, floating for weeks across the ocean, settling finally on a leaf in the Amazon, dissolving in rainwater, absorbed by roots, incorporated into new growth, becoming part of a tree, part of the forest, part of the great green engine that helps regulate our planet's climate. Let that journey wash through your mind. Feel the connections: desert to ocean, ocean to forest, past to present. All things linked, all things flowing, all things part of one great breathing whole. The Amazon rainforest is not simply a collection of trees. It is a vertical city, a multi-story structure with each level hosting its own unique community of life. From the forest floor to the highest emergent crowns, there can be 60 meters of vertical space, 60 meters of stratified life, each layer with its own climate, its own light levels, its own residence. Let us ascend, layer by layer, beginning where we stand, on the forest floor. Down here, in the deepest shade, less than 2% of the sunlight that strikes the canopy reaches the ground. It is dim, humid, still. The air itself seems thick, heavy with moisture and the scent of decay. Look at the ground beneath your feet. There is no thick layer of leaf litter here, no deep humus like you might find in a temperate forest. Instead, leaves and branches decompose almost as fast as they fall. Fungi, bacteria, termites all work together to break down organic matter within weeks, sometimes days. This rapid decomposition is crucial. It releases nutrients back into the system immediately, where tree roots, many running along the surface rather than deep underground, can absorb them before they're washed away by the next rain. Despite the low light, life persists here. Giant anteaters move through the shadows, their elongated snouts probing fallen logs for termite colonies. A full-grown anteater can consume 30,000 insects in a single day, using its sticky tongue that can extend up to 60 centimeters. Tapirs browse the sparse ground vegetation, their flexible snouts reaching for tender shoots. These prehistoric-looking mammals are excellent swimmers, often seeking out streams and rivers to cool off and escape biting insects. And moving almost invisibly through the undergrowth, the jaguar. Rosettes of gold and black blend perfectly with the dappled shadows. Unlike most cats, jaguars are drawn to water. They hunt along riverbanks, ambushing capybaras and caimans, using their immensely powerful jaws to pierce skulls and shells with a single bite. The forest floor is quiet, but not silent. Listen. A tapir's soft footfall, the rustle of a lizard in dry leaves, the distant call of a bird high above. This is a world of patience, of waiting, of life lived in perpetual twilight. Now, look up. Rising above the forest floor, between 5 and 20 meters up, we enter the understory. Here, light levels increase slightly. Perhaps 5% of full sunlight penetrates to this level. Plants here have adapted in remarkable ways. Their leaves are often enormous, spreading wide to capture every available photon. Many leaves have a dark, almost purple coloration on their undersides, rich in anthocyanin pigments that backscatter light through the photosynthetic tissue, essentially allowing the leaf to use the same light twice. Other plants have evolved pointed drip tips at the ends of their leaves, allowing rainwater to run off quickly. This prevents the growth of mosses, lichens, and fungi that would otherwise coat the leaf surface and block light. The understory is a refuge for many creatures. Tree frogs cling to leaves, their skin adorned with vibrant warning colors. Poison dart frogs that carry toxins powerful enough to kill. These toxins, derived from their diet of mites and ants, make them unpalatable to predators, a living chemical defense. Insects are everywhere. Leaf insects, so perfectly mimicking the plants around them that they're almost impossible to spot. Walking sticks, moving with deliberate slowness, swaying slightly as if moved by a breeze. Orchid mantises, waiting in perfect stillness, their body parts shaped and colored like flower petals, ready to ambush any pollinator that ventures too close. Even the air is different here. Still, humid, thick with the scent of growth and decay. Spiders weave webs between branches, some with silk strong enough to trap small birds. The understory is a layer of patience, of camouflage, of hidden things waiting to be discovered. Higher still, between 25 and 45 meters above the forest floor, we reach the canopy, the green roof of the rainforest, where life explodes in abundance. This is where the Amazon truly comes alive. The canopy intercepts perhaps 95% of all sunlight, creating an environment rich in energy and resources. It's estimated that 70 to 90% of all rainforest species live in or use the canopy at some point in their lives. The trees here form a nearly continuous layer of foliage. Branches interlock. Vines called lianas drape from tree to tree, creating highways for arboreal animals. Epiphytes, plants that grow on other plants without parasitizing them, festoon every branch. Orchids and bromeliads creating entire gardens in the sky. Some of these bromeliads hold pools of water in their central cups, tiny ecosystems 20 meters above the ground. Frogs lay eggs in these pools. Mosquito larvae wiggle through the water. Even small crabs have been found living their entire lives in these aerial ponds, never touching the ground. The canopy is loud. Howler monkeys announce the dawn with calls that can be heard for 5 kilometers, deep booming roars that seem to shake the very air. Scarlet macaws shriek as they fly overhead, their brilliant blue and red plumage flashing in the sunlight. Toucans call, their large bills perfectly balanced and surprisingly light, designed for reaching fruits on thin branches. 3-toed sloths hang motionless from branches, moving so slowly that algae grows in their fur, turning them slightly green, perfect camouflage against the leaves. Their entire metabolism is slowed, conserving energy on a diet of leaves that provides minimal nutrition. They descend to the forest floor only once a week to defecate, a dangerous journey that exposes them to ground predators. Spider monkeys swing through the branches with incredible agility, their prehensile tails acting as a 5th limb. The tail is as long as the body, with 23 vertebrae providing both strength and flexibility. At the tip, a bare patch of skin, almost like a fingerprint, provides extra grip for precision movements. The canopy is a world unto itself. If you could walk across these treetops, you could travel for hundreds of kilometers without ever touching the ground. It is a continuous ecosystem, a green ocean, waves of leaves rolling to the horizon. But there is one more layer, the highest of all. Above the canopy, breaking through into full sunlight, the emergent giants stand. These trees, the tallest in the Amazon, can reach 60, 70, even 80 meters high. Up here, conditions are extreme. Full tropical sun beats down, temperatures can swing by 20 degrees between day and night. Winds buffet the crowns with forces that would snap lesser trees. To survive, emergent trees have adapted in specific ways. Their leaves are small and waxy, minimizing water loss. Their wood is dense and strong, capable of flexing in high winds without breaking. Many produce winged seeds, adapted to catch the wind and spiral down, landing far from the parent tree. The kapok tree, also called the ceiba, is one of the most magnificent emergents. Its trunk can reach 3 meters in diameter, buttressed at the base with massive flanges that spread across the ground like the flying buttresses of a cathedral. The wood is light and buoyant, filled with air pockets, yet strong enough to support the enormous crown. Brazil nut trees grow here too, living for 500 years or more, producing their distinctive 3-sided nuts in hard, round capsules. These capsules fall from tremendous heights, heavy enough to kill a person, and only the agouti, a large rodent with teeth strong enough to crack the shell, can open them to scatter the seeds. This is the domain of raptors. The harpy eagle, one of the most powerful birds of prey on Earth, nests in emergent crowns. With talons the size of grizzly bear claws and a wingspan reaching 2 meters, these eagles hunt monkeys and sloths, plucking them from the canopy with terrifying precision. From up here, the view must be extraordinary. a sea of green stretching to every horizon, broken only by rivers winding like silver serpents through the forest, clouds forming and dissolving above, and the knowledge that beneath this green ceiling, millions of species are going about their lives, hunting, feeding, growing, reproducing, dying in an endless cycle of renewal. 4 layers, each with its own character, each essential to the whole: the forest floor, patient and recycling; the understory, hidden and adaptive; the canopy, abundant and loud; the emergent layer, exposed and majestic. Together, they create not just a forest, but a living system of such complexity that we're only beginning to understand it. Rest here for a moment, suspended in the canopy, feeling the gentle sway of branches, hearing the calls of birds and monkeys, safe in the green cathedral of the Amazon. In the Amazon, life has had millions of years to diversify, to specialize, to fill every conceivable ecological niche. The result is a bewildering array of adaptations, of forms, of survival strategies. Let us meet some of the Amazon's most remarkable residents. Hanging upside down from a branch, nearly invisible against the foliage, the 3-toed sloth embodies a unique survival strategy: do everything slowly. Sloths have the slowest metabolism of any mammal their size. Their body temperature fluctuates more than any other mammal, dropping at night to conserve energy. They eat leaves, which provide minimal nutrition and are difficult to digest, so they've evolved a multi-chambered stomach where bacteria slowly break down the cellulose. This process can take a month. A sloth's stomach can account for 30% of its total body weight, filled with slowly fermenting leaves. Because of this, they defecate only once every 8 days, descending from the safety of the canopy to the dangerous forest floor, where they dig a small hole, deposit their waste, and slowly climb back up. Why risk it? Scientists believe this behavior helps distribute nutrients back to the trees they depend on and provides a breeding ground for moths that live in the sloth's fur, which in turn support the algae that helps camouflage the sloth. Sloths have 3 extra neck vertebrae compared to most mammals, allowing them to rotate their heads 270 degrees. This lets them scan for danger without moving their body, maintaining their camouflage while staying alert. They are supremely adapted to their lifestyle. On the ground, they're awkward and vulnerable, but in the trees, moving from branch to branch with patient deliberation, they are exactly where they need to be. The acrobats, spider monkeys. Watch as a spider monkey swings through the canopy. Its movements are fluid, confident, acrobatic. Arms reaching, grabbing, releasing, and that remarkable tail, always in motion, always securing the next hold. The spider monkey's prehensile tail contains 23 vertebrae, making it both strong and flexible. At the tip, a patch of bare skin with dermal ridges, like a fingerprint, provides extra grip. This tail is powerful enough to support the monkey's entire body weight, allowing it to hang freely while both hands gather fruit. Spider monkeys live in fission-fusion societies, large groups that split into smaller foraging parties during the day, then reunite at night. They communicate with a variety of vocalizations, from barks to screams, and maintain complex social hierarchies. These monkeys are seed dispersers of critical importance. They eat fruit whole, travel considerable distances, and excrete seeds far from the parent tree, often in their own pile of fertilizer. Many rainforest trees depend on spider monkeys for reproduction. At the other end of the primate size spectrum, we find the pygmy marmoset, the world's smallest monkey. Weighing just 100 grams, about as much as a stick of butter, these tiny primates live in the lower canopy and understory. Pygmy marmosets have specialized teeth for gouging bark, creating small wounds in trees that seep sap and gum. They tend these feeding sites like gardens, returning to them repeatedly, licking up the nutritious exudates along with any insects that come to feed. They live in family groups, usually 6 to 9 individuals, and show remarkable cooperation. Older siblings help care for younger twins, carrying them, sharing food, even babysitting while parents forage. In the dappled shadows of the understory, a jaguar moves with liquid silence, each paw placed deliberately, eyes scanning, muscles coiled with potential energy. The jaguar is the largest feline in the Americas and the 3rd largest in the world after lions and tigers. But unlike most big cats, the jaguar is built for power rather than speed. Its bite force is extraordinary, stronger pound for pound than even a lion's, capable of piercing turtle shells and caiman armor. Their rosette-patterned coat provides perfect camouflage in the forest light. Each jaguar's pattern is unique, like a fingerprint, allowing researchers to identify individuals. Jaguars are unusual among cats in their affinity for water. They're excellent swimmers, often hunting along riverbanks and streams. They've been observed diving underwater to catch fish, something almost no other big cat does. They hunt caimans, emerging from the water in an explosive ambush, crushing the reptile's skull with a single bite. Solitary and territorial, jaguars mark their domains with scratches on trees and scent marking. A male's territory can span 25 to 100 square kilometers, overlapping with the smaller territories of several females. To the indigenous peoples of the Amazon, the jaguar holds deep spiritual significance. It represents power, mystery, the wildness of the forest itself. Shamans speak of transforming into jaguars, of seeing through jaguar eyes, of accessing the jaguar's connection to both the physical and spiritual worlds. The waters of the Amazon hold their own wonders. Let us slip beneath the surface into the warm, murky currents. The electric eel is not actually an eel, but a type of knife fish. Growing up to 2 meters long, it is a living battery, capable of generating electrical shocks up to 600 volts, enough to stun a horse or kill a human. 80% of its body is devoted to electricity generation, specialized cells called electrocytes, stacked in series like batteries. It can control the intensity of its shocks, using weak pulses for navigation and hunting, and strong discharges for defense and subduing prey. Electric eels are obligate air breathers. Despite living in water, they must surface every 10 minutes to breathe, gulping air into a highly vascularized mouth that functions like a lung. This adaptation allows them to survive in oxygen-poor pools during the dry season, when many fish would suffocate. The Amazon river dolphin, known locally as the boto, presents a different kind of marvel. These dolphins are pink, though the exact shade varies from pale rose to deep magenta. Males are generally pinker than females, and the intensity seems to increase with age and activity level. Unlike oceanic dolphins, botos have unfused neck vertebrae, allowing them to turn their heads 90 degrees. This flexibility is crucial for navigating through the submerged forest during flood season, weaving between tree trunks and roots in search of fish. Their eyes are small, adapted for the murky water conditions. Instead, they rely heavily on echolocation, sending out clicks and listening for the echoes, building a sonic map of their environment. They can distinguish between different species of fish, different objects, even different water conditions, all through sound. Botos feed on an incredible diversity of prey, over 40 different species of fish, everything from piranhas to catfish. They're known to work cooperatively with giant otters, each species driving fish toward the other. Local legends say the boto can transform into a handsome man, emerging from the river at night to attend village festivals, always wearing a hat to cover his blowhole. These stories reflect the deep connection between river communities and these intelligent, mysterious cetaceans. If we measured biodiversity by sheer numbers, insects would dominate the story of the Amazon. They represent over 90% of all animal species in the rainforest. Ants alone may account for up to 30% of the total animal biomass. Walk through the forest, and for every bird you see, there are thousands, perhaps millions of ants working, building, hunting, farming. Leafcutter ants, the underground farmers. Leafcutter ant colonies are among the most complex societies on Earth. A mature colony can contain 8 million individuals, organized into distinct castes, each with specific roles. The ants don't eat the leaves they cut. Instead, they carry them underground to vast fungus gardens. These gardens can extend 5 meters underground and 7 meters across, containing thousands of chambers connected by tunnels. The ants chew the leaves into pulp, inoculate it with fungal spores, and tend the growing fungus with obsessive care. They remove contaminating fungi, adjust humidity, prune the garden to promote growth. The fungus, in turn, produces specialized structures called gondolidia, rich in protein that the ants harvest as food. This relationship has existed for 50 million years. The fungus cannot survive without the ants. The ants cannot survive without the fungus. It is mutualism at its most intricate, agriculture practiced by creatures with brains smaller than a pinhead. A single leafcutter colony can strip a tree of every leaf in one night. Their mandibles vibrate at 1,000 times per second as they cut, creating a sound like falling rain as leaf fragments drop to the forest floor. In the deep forest, moving slowly across a fallen log, the titan beetle inspires awe and caution in equal measure. It can reach 17 centimeters in length, making it one of the largest insects on Earth. Its mandibles are strong enough to snap pencils, to tear through wood, to draw blood if handled carelessly. But adult titan beetles don't eat. They live only long enough to reproduce, surviving on energy stored from their larval stage, which can last several years in dead wood. The larva itself has never been observed in nature, though based on the size of the adult and the boreholes found in trees, scientists estimate the larva could be as thick as a human finger and twice as long. The blue morpho, living jewel. Against the green backdrop of the forest, a flash of electric blue. The blue morpho butterfly, drifting through a shaft of sunlight, is one of the most beautiful insects on Earth. But that brilliant blue is an illusion. The wings contain no blue pigment. Instead, microscopic scales on the wing surface are shaped like tiny Christmas trees, with branches arranged to create interference patterns in light. When light hits these structures, only blue wavelengths are reflected while other colors cancel out. This structural coloration is so bright that blue morphos can be spotted from aircraft flying over the canopy. The flash of blue, visible for half a mile, serves to startle predators and attract mates. The underside of the wings is a muted brown with eye spots, perfect camouflage when the butterfly rests with wings closed. It's a creature of contrasts, invisible one moment, dazzling the next. Insects. Millions of species, billions of individuals, each with its own role, its own adaptations, its own small part in the great machinery of the forest. Rest here for a moment in this knowledge of abundance. Let the sounds of the forest wash over you. The buzz of bees, the chirp of crickets, the rustle of beetles in leaf litter, all part of the symphony. For thousands of years, indigenous peoples of the Amazon have known what science is only now beginning to appreciate. This forest is a living pharmacy. 25% of all modern Western pharmaceuticals are derived from rainforest plants. Yet less than 1% of Amazonian plant species have been studied for their medicinal properties. We are standing in a library with hundreds of thousands of volumes, and we've barely read the titles. The story of quinine begins with the Quechua people of Peru. They discovered that the bark of a certain tree, the cinchona, when stripped and steeped in water, could reduce fever and prevent death from malaria. European colonizers learned of this treatment and brought cinchona bark back to Europe, where it became known as Jesuit's bark. For centuries, it was the only effective treatment for malaria, a disease that had killed millions, that had stopped armies, that had shaped the course of history. Eventually, scientists isolated the active compound, quinine, and learned to synthesize it. Even today, with modern anti-malarial drugs, quinine remains an important treatment, especially for drug-resistant strains. One indigenous remedy from one tree changed medicine forever. How many more such discoveries await? Deep in the rainforest, indigenous hunters developed a paste that they applied to the tips of their arrows and blowgun darts. This paste, called curare, was deadly. An animal struck by a curare-tipped dart would rapidly become paralyzed, dying from respiratory failure within minutes. Curare is derived from several plants, particularly vines of the Strychnus and Chondrodendron families. Different tribes have different recipes, different preparation methods, knowledge passed down through generations. Western medicine discovered that curare could be used as a muscle relaxant during surgery. The isolated compound, D-tubocurarine, became essential in operating rooms worldwide, allowing surgeons to perform procedures that would otherwise be impossible. Today, synthetic derivatives of curare are used to treat multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and other conditions involving muscle spasticity. A poison became a medicine. Death became healing. The Croton leclery tree, when wounded, bleeds. A dark red sap oozes from cuts in its bark, quickly forming a protective seal. Local peoples call it sangre de drago, dragon's blood. Indigenous healers have used this sap for countless purposes: to stop bleeding, to treat diarrhea, to heal ulcers and wounds, to prevent infection. They would apply it directly to injuries, where it would form a natural barrier, almost like a liquid bandage. Scientific analysis revealed that dragon's blood contains powerful compounds, taspine, which promotes wound healing, and dimethyltryptamine, which may have antimicrobial properties. The latex-like consistency creates a physical barrier against bacteria, while the chemical compounds fight infection and promote tissue repair. Clinical trials have confirmed what indigenous peoples knew all along: dragon's blood works. It's now being investigated for treating everything from viral infections to gastric ulcers to skin conditions. The vine Uncaria tomentosa, known as uña de gato or cat's claw for its hooked thorns, has been used in traditional medicine for centuries. Shamans would brew teas from its inner bark to treat arthritis, inflammation, digestive problems, and to boost overall health. Modern research has found that cat's claw contains alkaloids and other compounds that may modulate the immune system, reduce inflammation, and even show anti-cancer properties in laboratory studies. It's being investigated for treating HIV/AIDS, various cancers, and autoimmune conditions. The research is preliminary, but promising. Once again, indigenous knowledge points the way. The Amazon holds countless such stories. Each plant is a chemical factory, producing compounds to defend against insects, to compete with other plants, to signal pollinators, to adapt to stress. And each compound is potentially useful to medicine, to agriculture, to human well-being. But as the forest shrinks, as species go extinct, we lose these possibilities. A plant driven to extinction before it's studied might have held the cure for cancer, for Alzheimer's, for diseases we don't yet know how to treat. The indigenous peoples who hold this knowledge are also under threat. As young people move to cities, as languages are lost, as traditional practices fade, millennia of accumulated wisdom disappears. The Amazon is not just a forest, it is a library, a pharmacy, a university, and we are burning it down before we've learned to read. But there is still time, still hope, still forest standing, still knowledge to be shared, preserved, honored. For centuries, the prevailing view of the Amazon was that it was pristine wilderness, virgin forest that had remained unchanged since time immemorial. Indigenous peoples were seen as living lightly on the land, leaving no lasting mark, existing in harmony with nature without shaping it. This view was wrong. The Amazon we see today is not pristine. It is a garden, a managed landscape, the product of thousands of years of human cultivation, engineering, and deliberate modification. In recent years, a technology called LiDAR, light detection and ranging, has revolutionized our understanding of the Amazon's past. LiDAR uses laser pulses to map terrain, penetrating even dense forest canopy to reveal the ground beneath. What it has revealed is astonishing. Across the Amazon basin, LiDAR has detected more than 10,000 pre-Columbian earthworks, geoglyphs, geometric patterns carved into the earth, mounds for houses and ceremonies, networks of roads connecting settlements, evidence of complex societies that once thrived here. In the Upano Valley of Ecuador, researchers discovered an entire lost valley of cities. This complex of settlements dates back 2,500 years, making it contemporary with ancient Rome, and it housed up to 30,000 people. The cities were connected by straight roads up to 10 kilometers long and 10 meters wide. Residential mounds provided elevated platforms above the flood-prone valley floor. Agricultural fields were laid out in careful patterns with drainage canals to manage water. Ceremonial plazas served as gathering places. This was not a simple society. This was urban planning, engineering, organization on a massive scale. One of the most significant legacies of these ancient Amazonians is terra preta, black earth in Portuguese. Natural Amazonian soils are generally poor in nutrients, acidic, quickly depleted. Cleared areas can support crops for only a few years before the soil is exhausted. This is one reason slash-and-burn agriculture is so destructive. Farmers must continually clear new land. But terra preta is different. These soils are rich, dark, incredibly fertile, and they remain productive for decades, even centuries. Large patches of terra preta are found throughout the Amazon, some covering several hectares, some containing up to 3 times the organic matter of surrounding soils. How was it created? Indigenous peoples deliberately added charcoal from controlled burns, mixed with broken pottery, animal bones, fish remains, organic waste. The charcoal provides a stable structure that resists decomposition, creating a matrix that holds nutrients and supports beneficial microorganisms. Modern attempts to recreate terra preta have shown promise. Biochar, the modern term for agricultural charcoal, can improve soil fertility while sequestering carbon. Ancient indigenous knowledge is informing cutting-edge climate solutions. The implications of these discoveries is profound. Much of the Amazon's composition, the distribution of useful plant species, the patches of forest versus savanna, the very biodiversity we celebrate, may be the result of human management. Brazil nut trees, for example, are often found in groves rather than randomly distributed, suggesting they were deliberately cultivated. The same is true for cacao, for palms, for fruit trees. The forest is wild, yes, but it also bears the fingerprints of ancient gardeners. When Europeans arrived in the 16th century, bringing diseases that devastated indigenous populations, the Amazon's human footprint faded. The gardens grew wild. The cities were swallowed by forest. Within a few generations, the evidence of complex civilizations had largely vanished, hidden beneath the canopy. But it was never truly gone. It was waiting, beneath the soil, beneath the trees, waiting to be rediscovered. This history matters. It reminds us that humans can shape ecosystems, can live within nature while also managing it. The question is not whether we should interact with nature, but how. Will we be thoughtful gardeners, working with ecological processes, learning from millennia of accumulated wisdom? Or will we simply extract, destroy, and move on? The ancient Amazonians show us a different path, one of coexistence, of enhancement, of leaving the land richer than they found it. Close your eyes and listen. The Amazon is a world defined by sound. In the dense forest, where visibility is measured in meters, where the canopy blocks the sky, sound becomes the primary way to navigate, to communicate, to understand the environment. Every creature has its voice, every species its signature, and together they create what researchers call the acoustic niche hypothesis, the idea that species have evolved to vocalize at different frequencies and times to avoid interference. In the early morning, before dawn breaks, the forest begins to wake. First, the low rumble of howler monkeys, their calls occupying the deepest frequencies, carrying for kilometers through the trees. These vocalizations announce territory, gather troop members, warn competitors. As light begins to filter through the canopy, birds join the chorus. Each species has its own frequency range. Toucans call in mid-range tones. Macaws shriek in higher registers. Tiny antbirds chip and trill at the highest frequencies. They layer over each other, but rarely compete directly for the same acoustic space. Insects add texture. Cicadas create a constant backdrop of white noise. Crickets contribute rhythmic chirps. Katydids rasp and click. Each frequency is different, each pattern unique. Scientists now use acoustic monitoring to measure forest health. They deploy automated recording units, microphones that capture sound 24 hours a day. When they analyze these recordings, they can identify individual species, count populations, track changes over time. A healthy forest has a full soundscape. The acoustic spectrum is completely occupied. Bass, mid-range, treble, all filled with life. Different times of day have different orchestras: dawn chorus, midday quiet, evening crescendo, night symphony. But when a forest is degraded, the soundscape thins. Certain frequencies go silent. The complexity decreases. The richness fades. Logged forests sound different from burned forests. Fragmented forests sound different from intact ones. Each disturbance leaves its signature in the acoustic record. Researchers have found that insect sounds are particularly sensitive indicators. When forests are burned, insect populations crash, and their high-frequency contributions disappear from the soundscape. Recovery can take years, decades even, as the ecosystem slowly rebuilds. But sound is more than a measurement tool. It is the experience of the forest itself. To walk through the Amazon is to be immersed in a three-dimensional sound environment, with calls coming from every direction, every distance, every height. A branch snaps overhead, a monkey moving through the canopy. Leaves rustle to your left, perhaps an agouti foraging. Water drips from a leaf above, landing on another leaf below, creating a gentle percussion. Somewhere far off, thunder rumbles, rain approaching. At night, the soundscape transforms. Diurnal species fall silent, nocturnal creatures emerge. Frogs begin their evening chorus, hundreds of species, each with its own call. Tree frogs chirp, poison dart frogs trill, bullfrogs boom. The sound can be overwhelming, a wall of noise that makes conversation impossible. Bats echolocate in ultrasonic frequencies, beyond human hearing, but crucial for their navigation and hunting. Insects respond to these calls, some freezing, some diving, some producing their own ultrasonic clicks to jam the bat's sonar. Night monkeys call softly, owls hoot. A distant jaguar may produce a low coughing sound, marking territory. The acoustic landscape of the Amazon is as rich and complex as its visual landscape. It is a dimension of biodiversity we often overlook, yet it is fundamental to how the forest functions. So listen now. Let the sounds surround you. Feel yourself become part of the chorus. Your breathing, steady and rhythmic, adds to the pattern. You are not separate from this symphony. You are part of it. Breathe and listen and be. The Amazon faces an uncertain future. Since 1970, an area larger than the state of Texas has been cleared. Every minute, an area of forest the size of 3 football fields disappears. The drivers are familiar: cattle ranching, soy farming, logging, mining, infrastructure development. Currently, approximately 17% of the Amazon has been converted to other uses. Another 17% has been degraded, damaged but not completely destroyed. Together, that's over 1/3 of the forest compromised in some way. Scientists have identified a tipping point, a threshold beyond which the forest can no longer sustain itself. Remember the flying rivers, the moisture recycling that the forest depends on? If too many trees are removed, rainfall decreases. With less rain, more trees die, a feedback loop of destruction. Models suggest this tipping point may occur when 20 to 25% of the forest is lost. We're already at 17% cleared plus 17% degraded. We may be closer to the edge than we realize. If the tipping point is crossed, large portions of the Amazon could transition from rainforest to dry savanna within decades. The implications would be catastrophic, not just for the Amazon, but for the planet.
The Amazon stores approximately 120 billion tons of carbon in its biomass and soils. If that carbon is released through forest dieback, it would accelerate climate change dramatically, creating a global crisis. Regional impacts would be equally severe. The flying rivers would weaken or disappear. Rainfall patterns across South America would shift. Agricultural production would decline. Water security would be compromised. Millions of people would be affected. And the biodiversity, the millions of species, the genetic heritage of evolution's greatest experiment would be lost forever. Extinctions on a scale not seen since the dinosaurs disappeared. But there is hope. Conservation efforts are underway. Protected areas have been established. Indigenous land rights are being recognized and strengthened, and indigenous peoples are often the best guardians of the forest. Studies have shown that indigenous territories have much lower deforestation rates than other areas. When indigenous peoples have secure rights to their land, when their knowledge is respected, when they have the resources to patrol and protect their territories, the forest remains standing. Reforestation and restoration efforts are expanding. Degraded areas can recover, especially if seed sources remain nearby and soil quality has not been completely destroyed. The forest wants to grow back. It just needs a chance.
Economic incentives are shifting. Carbon credits, ecotourism, sustainable harvesting of forest products. These can provide income to local communities without destroying the forest. Standing forest can be more valuable than cleared land. International awareness is growing. People around the world are recognizing that the Amazon is not just Brazil's forest or South America's forest, it is a global treasure, a planetary life support system. The future is not written. The outcome is not predetermined. What happens to the Amazon depends on choices, on priorities, on whether we value short-term profit or long-term survival. Every tree that remains standing is a victory. Every hectare protected is hope made real. Every indigenous territory secured is a defense of life itself. The Amazon has survived ice ages, continental drift, mass extinctions, millions of years of change. It has adapted, endured, flourished. The question is whether it can survive us. We have journeyed together through the Amazon. From its ancient geological origins, through its mighty rivers, across its hidden reefs, into its flying rivers of moisture, following dust from the Sahara, climbing through layers of life from floor to emergent crown. We have met sloths and jaguars, monkeys and dolphins, ants and butterflies. We have learned of medicinal plants and ancient cities. We have listened to the acoustic landscape and confronted the challenges ahead. But what does it all mean? The Amazon is more than facts and figures, more than species counts and chemical formulas. It is a living demonstration of life's creativity, resilience, and interconnectedness. Every part connects to every other part. Trees make rain. Rain feeds trees. Dust from Africa fertilizes forests in South America. Rivers carry nutrients from mountains to ocean. Animals disperse seeds. Fungi recycle nutrients. Indigenous peoples shape the forest. The forest shapes climate. Nothing exists in isolation. Everything affects everything else. This is the fundamental lesson of the Amazon and of ecology itself. We are all connected, all dependent, all part of one great breathing whole. When you breathe, oxygen enters your lungs. That oxygen was produced by trees, by plants using sunlight to split water molecules, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. Every breath you take connects you to the forest. When you breathe out, carbon dioxide leaves your body. That carbon dioxide will be absorbed by plants, incorporated into sugars through photosynthesis, used to build new growth. Your exhalation feeds the forest. We breathe with the forest. It breathes with us. Oxygen and carbon dioxide cycling between lungs and leaves, between animal and plant, in an exchange as old as complex life itself. The Amazon reminds us that we are not separate from nature. We are part of it. Our survival depends on its survival. Our well-being is inseparable from its well-being. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, carry this knowledge with you. You are connected to the Amazon, to its trees and rivers, to its animals and insects, to the indigenous peoples who have lived there for millennia. Every choice you make ripples outward. What you consume, how you travel, what you support, what you oppose, all of it matters. All of it contributes to either protection or destruction. But don't let that burden you. Let it empower you. You are part of something larger than yourself. Your actions have meaning. Your voice has power. The Amazon has been here for 56 million years. It has witnessed the rise and fall of species, the movement of continents, the cycling of ice ages. It has endured. It will continue if we allow it, if we protect it, if we learn from it, if we recognize it, not as a resource to be exploited, but as a treasure to be cherished, a teacher to be respected, a partner in our shared future. So rest now. Let the sounds of the forest surround you. The gentle rain on leaves, the distant thunder, the soft calls of night birds, the rustling of wind through the canopy. Imagine yourself beneath those emerald giants, safe, sheltered, part of the endless cycle of growth and decay, life and death, breathing in and breathing out. The forest breathes with you, steady, patient, timeless. Breathe in. The forest provides oxygen. Breathe out. You nourish the forest. Breathe in. Connection. Breathe out. Gratitude. Breathe in. Hope. Breathe out. Peace. The Amazon continues its ancient rhythm, indifferent to time, patient as stone, vibrant as sunrise. 390 billion trees, breathing as one, creating weather, harboring life, connecting earth and sky. And you, breathing in harmony with them, are part of this miracle. Rest now in the embrace of the forest. Sleep, knowing you are connected. Dream of emerald canopies and flowing rivers. Wake to a world where the Amazon still stands, still breathes, still flourishes. This is the Amazon. This is life. This is home.